This is one of the smallest birds on Earth, light as a coin, fast as a blink, and brilliant like a living jewel, the hummingbird. But what if I told you, this delicate creature comes from a past that was far more intense and almost unrecognizable? Because millions of years ago, hummingbirds were not gentle nectar drinkers. They were aerial hunters. Our story begins in South America, in dense rainforests and along the towering Andes, where survival has always been fast, competitive, and unforgiving. Around 40 million years ago, early bird species began adapting in extraordinary ways. Among them were the ancestors of hummingbirds, likely evolving from swift-like birds built for speed and precision. These weren't tiny, fragile creatures. They were larger, stronger, sharper. They chased insects mid-air, reacting in split seconds, living as agile predators of the sky. But then, something changed. Flowers. The rise of flowering plants introduced a completely new opportunity: nectar. A high-energy reward, hidden deep inside blossoms. And unlike insects, nectar didn't require strength or aggression. It required precision. So over millions of years, evolution began to reshape them. They became smaller, lighter, more efficient. Their beaks grew longer and more specialized. Their tongues transformed into microscopic pumping systems, perfectly designed to extract nectar. And their wings evolved into something extraordinary. They began moving in a figure-8 pattern, allowing them to hover in place, fly backward, and even upside down. A level of flight control unmatched in the animal world. What emerged wasn't a weaker bird. It was something far more advanced. A living machine built for precision, speed, and efficiency. Today, hummingbirds are among the most extreme animals on Earth. Their wings can beat up to 80 times per second. Their hearts can exceed 1,200 beats per minute. And their metabolism is so intense, they must feed constantly just to survive. Every day they visit hundreds of flowers, hovering, feeding, moving, non-stop. Because if they stop, they risk running out of energy. To survive the night, they enter a state called torpor. Their body slows dramatically, like a temporary shutdown, just enough to make it until morning. And despite their delicate appearance, they aren't just nectar feeders. They also hunt tiny insects and spiders, still carrying echoes of their ancient past. But perhaps their most important role is one you rarely notice. As they move from flower to flower, they pollinate entire ecosystems, helping plants reproduce and life continue. So when you look at a hummingbird, you're not seeing something fragile. You're seeing the result of millions of years of refinement, a transformation from predator to precision specialist. Because in nature, survival isn't always about being the strongest. Sometimes, it's about becoming the most efficient. And the next time you see a hummingbird hovering in the sunlight, remember, you're watching millions of years of evolution compressed into a single, living moment. A tiny body with a massive story behind it. Next, this creature can breathe through its skin. It can freeze and come back to life. It can leap many times its own body length in a single jump. The frog. But what if I told you, this quiet, soft-skinned animal comes from a past shaped by one of the most important transitions in Earth's history? Because frogs are not just small creatures of ponds and rain. They are survivors of a world-changing evolution. Our story begins over 300 million years ago, when life was still bound to water. The ancestors of frogs were early amphibians, descended from lobe-finned fish that first dared to crawl onto land. Back then, Earth was a very different place. Dense swamps, giant insects, thick, humid air, and survival meant adapting to two worlds at once. These early creatures were not like modern frogs. They were larger, heavier, with stronger limbs and longer bodies. They moved slowly, staying close to water, because their skin needed moisture to survive. But evolution had already begun its work. Over millions of years, their bodies transformed. Legs became longer and more powerful, backbones shortened, tails disappeared. And what emerged was something new, a body built for jumping. The frog didn't just walk, it leaped, explosively, efficiently, escaping predators in an instant. But perhaps their most remarkable transformation was their life cycle. Frogs begin as tadpoles, fully aquatic, breathing through gills like fish. Then, in one of nature's most dramatic changes, they transform. Legs grow, lungs develop, gills disappear, and they emerge onto land as completely different creatures, a living bridge between water and air. Today, frogs are found almost everywhere on Earth, from tropical rainforests to frozen regions. Some species can survive being partially frozen, their bodies pausing until warmth returns. Others carry toxins powerful enough to deter predators instantly, and many communicate through calls that echo through forests and wetlands, signals of territory, warning, or attraction. Despite their small size, frogs play a massive role in ecosystems. They control insect populations. They serve as food for larger animals. And because their skin is highly sensitive to the environment, they are often the first to signal when something is wrong. But that sensitivity comes with a cost. Frogs today are among the most threatened groups of animals on Earth. Habitat loss, pollution, and climate change are pushing many species toward extinction. So when you see a frog sitting quietly near water, it's easy to overlook it. But you're not just looking at a simple animal. You're looking at a survivor of one of the greatest transitions in evolution, from water to land. A creature that carries two worlds within its life, a body shaped by transformation, and a story that began hundreds of millions of years ago and is still unfolding today. The world isn't just what we see, it's what we overlook. In the smallest lives are the biggest transformations, millions of years shaped into a single moment. So stay curious, because the next story might be right in front of you.